Welcome back. You got Will and Iman here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and inscribe, and today we got a Bitmap update.
We sure do, dude. It's, I think we took a week, or maybe even 2 weeks off from the Bitmap updates because we've been having a lot of interesting things going on.
Yeah.
So we haven't been able to keep our finger on the pulse as much as we'd like to, but we're back full time again, and we have our spectacles on this space as we should be.
Yeah, as we normally do.
And if you're a wise citizen of Web3, you would also have your spectacles on this space at all times.
Yeah.
Because there's tremendous opportunity, right?
And there's a whole lot of people on crypto Twitter that are not wise.
That's right. I guess so. Yeah. Their spectacles are elsewhere. So we kind of want to address that a bit. Mm-hmm. Even though we've done that pretty consistently in the past, like why you should not fade Bitmap.
Yeah.
I guess to us it's much more intuitive because we spent a large segment of our existence in this space focused on the metaverse.
Yeah.
But I think we want to do the public a service here by trying our best to change the perceptions, at least a smidget.
Yeah.
Right? There are things looming that are more important than art, to be honest. Do you agree?
I totally agree, dude.
Okay. That's my thesis, is because you go on a crypto Twitter, specifically ordinal Twitter.
Yeah.
The consensus seems to be like the greatest innovation of Web3 is going to be art.
Yeah.
Of some variant, which art is cool and all, but there's a much broader landscape of potential in this digital realm.
Yeah.
Beyond just 2D images.
Yeah. Basically, every single project in crypto Twitter should be thinking about how to exist in the metaverse.
I totally agree. Yeah, that is our belief. And right now, I guess we sound like crazy folk to the majority.
Yeah. Which
is fine. We're perfectly comfortable being in that position. We've been in that space our whole lives of being in the minority. And then eventually people will understand, right?
Yeah.
We're this guy. This is why he's always on our table.
We're Bill Gates in the 1990s where he's talking about the internet.
Right.
And everybody's asking is why the internet? Well, what's...
Yeah. Why would people send emails to each other? We have... real mail. What's wrong with the post office, dude? You guys are fucking weird.
Right.
Why would you want to, watch things on your computer?
Right.
We have televisions. This is not useful.
Right.
Right. So yeah, we're kind of back into that square.
Right.
And in relation to why we're so focused on this, now we're also interested on Bitcoin.
Right.
Its ecosystem expanding, and now Bitmap kind of merging and marrying all this together. And
what's crazy is that there's been happenings in the past which are crazy that happened in the metaverse that shows us that it's probably going to happen again.
That's a good point.
But on Bitcoin.
That's a good point because rewind 4 years ago, we were saying kind of the same things, but there was actually no evidence to suggest that we were at some point going to be right.
Yeah.
But luckily, fast forward to today, we actually have some evidence to reference nowadays, some data points to suggest you need to be paying attention to what's happening on Bitmap because specifically this metaverse on Bitcoin narrative, right? And the potential of that.
Yeah. All right. So let's get this out of the way. So we're on Magic Eden and we're looking at a owners 23,400. So it went up about 100 and change or so.
Yeah. So we're seeing a steady increase, roughly 100 new owners a week, I'd say, at this current stage. So a lot of that slowdown has a lot to do with parcelization not being completely, I guess, ironed out.
Yeah, because of Casey Runner's update on parent-child inscription process.
Which is now an officially merged part of the ORD client. So we should start to see much more, I guess, concrete parcelization standards to emerge.
Inscribe is about to get an update to reflect that standard update. So
so why does that matter? Well, because now Bitmaps become a community onboarding mechanism tool, which is what the whole main utility purpose of the metaverse, right? Anybody has access to the metaverse and can create entire ecosystems with that. And that is the utility of a Bitmap. So until now, the Bitmap itself is the big thing that people want, but we haven't unlocked the potential of what each Bitmap contains within it.
Yeah, for the community. Yeah. All right, so now we're on CoinGecko, and we're looking at Bitmap.
The actual value of, I guess, the floor price.
Yeah.
So that something happened here. I think the APIs got shut off or something, this flatline moment.
Yeah.
There's a couple of days of just no tracking. right?
Yeah, significant.
No, it was like nothing happened because I think the APIs of Magic Eden just were not activated for Bitmap. So a little bit of loss of data there, but of course the light switch got turned right back on, and what do you know? We're actually like
middle of a mania here.
Yeah, we've broken out of this this bearish price action and on the up and up.
Yeah. So yeah, and Bitmap continuously is like top 3 like traded and trending.
Yeah, remember we all inscribed these Bitmaps about 4 months ago, roughly 4-ish, 5-ish months ago, for basically $1 a piece.
Right.
And we're looking at a floor price of $9. So already a 9x in value to the floor price of each of these. So it's pretty good.
That's really good. Yeah.
In a bear market,
that's 900%, dude.
I mean, I don't think you're going to get that in many other markets,
stocks,
in the equities markets, or like the traditional physical real estate market. So
right.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on. All right, Bitoshi, here it is. Unveiling Citizen 0 and Pettison 0.
Mm-hmm.
The Genesis avatars and pets both donning the Blockamoto hat to keep the magic alive.
So what do you know? You notice anything interesting about those links up there to these actual digital assets?
Oh, they're BRC 420s.
Yeah, dude. So we talked about that in the past.
That's cool.
It's the first native standard for the metaverse, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Digital object standard with like a royalty implementation as part of it. So Bitoshi Blockamoto supporting it with his first release of, I guess, little avatar creations.
And also, I don't know if you have it here, but Bitoshi joined the Trac team. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So Bitoshi's part of the Trac team.
That is a big deal for a lot of reasons because Trac is making a lot of headway, I guess. In pretty much all sectors, like
they're the fastest developer out there, I think.
And within the ordinal space, I would say so.
It's them and like maybe Ordinal's wallet.
Yeah,
in terms of speed,
I would definitely give the edge to Trac though because I think they're focused in more on like the infrastructure layer.
That's true.
And Ordinal's wallet, it's like on the application layer, which is they're both critically important, right?
Yeah.
But following what Trac and Benny's doing is a big deal. So now that Bitoshi is officially I mean, they already were aligned. A Trac and Bitmap had a lot to do together with its initial success. So it's just a continuation of that.
Yeah. All right. Inscribe.space. We just inscribed on-chain text minter, a simple tool that allows to inscribe text directly from inscription using Xverse app wallet. Imagine being able to launch, mint entire collections from within 3D spaces.
Damn.
So we have a lot of experience with this. We built minters, these little minter applications that are deployable in Decentraland, and people can mint NFTs, Polygon NFTs within Decentraland from this little kiosk.
Yeah.
And so now seeing it by inscribe.space happening on Bitcoin, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a bigger deal, I guess, than like at gut reaction to today. That people realize because part of the main, like, I guess, core tenets or philosophies of what is the metaverse is this fully immersive 3D layer, existence layer.
Yeah.
And if it's truly going to fit within that scope of definition, like the keyword is immersion there. You can't like ruin that by having to like extract yourself from this 3D layer just to get back to your 2D like utility space of the internet to access critical functions like minting and inscribing. It all has to be present, right?
Yeah, agreed.
That's our thesis. Like, if the metaverse is the evolution of the internet, those same functions need to exist within it.
Yeah, not only that, this has an embedded design capability where if you're minting on your land, and let's say there's a cost to mint, there could be a fee that's split to the landowner.
That's another like core tenet to like what is the metaverse. It's an economic layer.
That's right.
Economic opportunity for people. So yeah, you could build whole businesses.
Yeah.
In this metaverse layer. And that's what we've been focused on for 4 years.
Yeah, and Scribe.space doesn't know it, but what he made was a meta. It's a metaverse-enabled tokenized application.
That's right. Yeah, and like you said, we've done this in Decentraland because there's an SDK available for developers to bring about these type of applications, right? So this is stuff anybody who owns land can install and again provide as a utility to their visitors.
Yeah.
You could build a game around this. Hey, go extract these resources from X, Y, and Z plots, bring them back to this meta, this crafting station.
Right.
And now you've just created a new, digital collectible for yourself, all within this 3D spatial environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening, dude.
That's badass, dude.
Shout out inscribe.space, dude, for continuing like pushing the boundaries for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, Chris. Customize your instance, which becomes attached to a parcel on your Bitmap. But get this, you can make transactions from the Bitcoin wallet you're connected to or Solana wallet on your computer if you want, meaning we can enable both Sats and Bonk if we choose. So basically, they've enabled the ability to connect your Solana wallet to their Bitmap Valley.
Yeah, so this is just more IMSO Chris, the cooking continues, right?
Yeah.
The Bitmap Valley.
We're call him Heisenberg now.
There you go. I don't know if we can, because like Bitoshi looks like Heisenberg.
That's true.
Doesn't he? He's got the little top hat.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like a little mini Heisenberg. So I don't know. Maybe that's just like a theme of the metaverse.
Yeah.
We're all cooks,
I
guess. But yeah, Bitmap Valley continuing to expand its its utility service. That music to our ears. We've been like huge proponents for a while now. Like the metaverse needs to be robust and functional and non-static. Right. So this is all good. We don't want virtual existence layers where we just kind of show up and look at dioramas and do nothing. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so customize your instance. That's cool. So now we're going to be able to jump into a Bitmap Valley, go to a given parcel, and then customize that parcel's instance to make it look like whatever we want. So eventually,
and then accept any currency you want to.
That's right. Yeah.
Customize like the economics of your instance, right? Like, hey, I want to support Sats because there's a huge community there. I want people coming to my instance to have utility for the Sats that they own, right? I can go purchase this, and that, or play this, and that by spending Sats.
Yeah.
Now they have that ability, right? So this is good.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Chris, sorry for the delay on getting the Bitcoin wallets out to you. It's been a kind of crazy month so far, but we'll get them to you.
Yeah. Once we get those wallets synced and activated, we're going to do a full deep dive exploration of the Valley.
That's right.
And we're going to bring it to our audience for sure.
All right. Leonidas here. Why doesn't Leonidas talk about bitmaps?
Why doesn't he, dude?
Everyone has their preferences, but it's important to include them in the range of comparative choices. I think a fair attitude would earn more respect. So he's referring to this link, says, what is the most likely to be the catalyst for the next Ornals bull run? Rare sats, runes, BRC20 swap, and high-quality art.
Yeah, this kind of like... This is definitely... It's been this way since the start, right?
Yeah.
If you've been paying attention to Bitmap, there's obviously a large community that sees the potential of it, but for whatever reason, there was like a core Ordinals community space that was highly resistant against what Bitmap is and what it represents. It's not something worthy of like...
It's really weird.
Attention or praise, even though it is like an ordinal inscription based ecosystem. Still, it's like ordinals and inscriptions are cool, but not for the metaverse. Keep that stuff on Ethereum, I guess. Why? Why do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't have any like thoughts or suggestions? Like what?
It could be that there's no way for people like Leonidas to make money from Bitmaps, at least for now. Right?
Yeah, I think it's not an obvious like. Because, Bitmap was a free mint, freely distributed, land distribution event.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like these influencers had some sort of mechanic to sell their own land. And even though there is with, Bitmap parcelization and such, these types of devices can be created where, I create this ecosystem vision for my community, whatever, my brand, me as an influencer type. I can onboard all these people who find influence in what I do into this Bitmap that I own, right? Now you've got a monetization method pathway, but that stuff isn't clear yet because nobody has really successfully pulled that off.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So in a lot of cases, there's like a psychological term for this, right? It's like the bystander effect or something like that. I don't know if you ever took psych classes. In school.
I did.
You remember that one?
Yeah. So basically, it's where you see some sort of accident or something,
and nobody tends to like do anything.
Nobody
right?
does anything because you expect someone else to do something.
Yeah, you're waiting for that initiator.
Yeah,
you're waiting for somebody to like step up and like get past that inertia, I guess. Be the first to action, and then everyone all of a sudden is like, "Oh, I'm coming too."
Yeah.
That's the bystander effect. So there's a lot of that is kind of like happening across the board, right? Everyone's just waiting for that first one with the biggest set of cojones to
Yeah.
step in and kind of like, prove it to the rest of the world. And then once it's done, all of a sudden Bitmaps makes sense.
Yeah, and I understand the resistance too, because Bitmap is largely just a text inscription that means a lot more than what that text inscription says.
Yeah.
And it's up to the community to make something of that text inscription, like a virtual environment.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I said to this question of like why Leonidas and other influencers aren't like plugging Bitmaps as much as you would expect, just based off of the holder count alone. Like this it's objectively one of the biggest ordinal success stories. Feels like something they would want to kind of like put on front and center stage, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, from like an objective point of view, why don't they talk about it? That's the great question.
Yeah, that's what we're asking here. So it's got to be your explanation or your theories. Like, they don't see an easy pathway to monetization as easy as art exploitation.
Right.
I could easily cook up an art project much easier because, again, they have that proven reference points of like, I've seen other project founders just create art and market it really well and make millions of dollars as a result. Yeah. Why couldn't I do that on Bitcoin?
And also they're, getting into the art like space, it makes it easier to market to a people who are very, you don't have to explain the metaverse to them. Right. Yeah. Like you don't have to explain all this stuff to them to get them involved with the metaverse, like you do with art. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's just easier, like lower hanging fruit for them to just push art.
Yeah, I've actually heard that. Yeah. They said the opportunity of the metaverse, it's more technically challenging. So I understand that point of view too. It's like, there's more risk involved with like, committing too much, resource to this sector just because of the threshold of innovation that's still kind of like.
Yeah, but you know what? Present. There's a lot of risk to going to Mars, right?
Agreed.
There's a lot of risk developing reusable rockets.
Yeah.
Right. But you still do it. You still go and try to do it.
Dude,
trust me. To make progress.
I'm in the boat with you, dude. I'm in that camp. I'm in the boat with the risk takers.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be affiliated with the
the art cartel.
The lame. No, I didn't go like specifics. I'm just saying. I like the people who have, the cojones to take the big risks, because those are the people who tend to, change, impact the most.
The crazy ones.
Whatever, dude. Yeah. Whatever you want to call them, I guess that's us.
Yeah.
Us Bitmappers. So whatever, let them fade. So a little bit of hopium. Let's talk about what happened. Like, why? Okay.
So why are we asking why Leonidas doesn't talk about Bitmap? It's because we have evidence to suggest here it says billions being spent in the metaverse. This is in November 2022. This is not that long ago.
Yeah, we experienced this because we were around in the metaverse since it's like its inception point in Web3.
Yeah.
And we got to saw all the lows and highs of that, of what the metaverse is and what it represents.
By the way, in the same time frame, remember, China has an entire government like sector dedicated to building stuff for the metaverse.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, the metaverse is for sure going to be much more like readily embraced by the East than the West, just because culturally, economically, technologically, whatever. Yeah, they're more inclined to be like play around and I guess find value in this like virtual realm, as opposed to the West. Typically, like we kind of like gravitate towards this stuff after the fact. Anime culture, fucking I mean, in fucking Japan and stuff, they have like actual virtual celebrities and stuff.
That's true.
And like that kind of thing is just now starting to kind of like permeate to the West.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So here it says nearly $2 billion has been spent on virtual land in the past 12 months as people and companies race to get a full hold in the metaverse. The research shows $2 billion. This is in a place where at first mint, it was $25 per land.
Yeah. So basically free.
Yeah.
To be honest. Like
it's like $1 per bitmap.
Yeah. Bitmaps are basically free too.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of like in context of like what has already happened. Like we said 4 years ago, we didn't even have like the proof or the reference point that like this digital virtual economy has any legs other than like traditional game space. Right. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know if like those same, I guess, value expectations would cross over into the Web3 space, but they have. Yeah. Now we have a reference point. This happened, right? In Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, Sandbox. Yeah. And that's not even on Bitcoin. That's all on Ethereum. Yeah. You know, so I think the thesis is like makes a lot of sense. You should expect once the metaverse kind of like has reinvigorated interest, which it will. Yeah. We've got Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta, all these major tech companies focusing on enabling this paradigm. Right. Why wouldn't like you see this happen on Bitcoin? If not like even more valuable.
Yeah. And there's a ton of developing technology that will allow you to create very robust virtual environments on top of Bitmap. Fuck yeah. It's just a matter of implementation.
Agreed. Yeah. And to be honest, like, you know, during the point in time where all this was happening in Decentraland, yeah, there was an SDK and there were things being built, but as far as like a consumer product and like an actual something of like tangible, substantial value, it wasn't really there. It was more like the speculative value of just the land itself. Right. Is what attracted investors. Right? Yeah. I don't think any of those investors really like thought they're going to generate like millions of people in like traffic from their lands. They were just speculating on the value of the property itself. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Bitmap is perfectly positioned to kind of like capitalize on those same speculative forces, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's a little bit over 800,000 bitmaps. Took about 14 years to generate. It's going to take another 14 years to generate another 800,000 bitmaps. Mm-hmm. So it's rare enough. Yeah. Right? So, So yeah. All right, that's our video for today. Talked about Bitmaps, its potential. Leonidas, definitely you're welcome to join the podcast anytime that you want to
anybody
chat it up about pizza or
rare sats, just
frogs,
more art, whatever it is. Metaverse, how is this all going to come to fruition? Yeah. And yeah, over the next coming weeks, we're going to be, I guess, like unveiling a lot of our ambitions and our vision roadmap and stuff for what it is we want to contribute to this inevitability that you're talking about. Because we have big plans, and we're going to bring all of our experience and our tool sets and frameworks that we've developed over the last few years to this Bitcoin ecosystem, right?
Well said, dude. All right, that's it for us. If we miss anything, let us know in the comment section below. I appreciate you. We respond to every single comment. And so, yeah, shout out to you guys and appreciate you. Follow all our Twitter accounts, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.